Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for joining today's session. I think we have enough people. We can start now. Yeah. So, hi, everyone. My name is 𝗲𝗂𝗍. I work with the city of Lane. Okay, I work with the city of Lane. Yes, so for those who don't know about Lane, actually, Lane is a program where we try to help Nigerians join into like big MBA programs. So basically, what we do here at Lane is to like help people get into top MBA programs. We're here to help you with your application process, and any help you might need at all. We're here to just help you every step of the way. So basically, that's what we do here at Lane. I know there might be some people that are not too familiar with the city of Lane. So let's see. Sorry, just a minute. Okay, yes. So we'll drop the link for you on the chat box so you can just join in if you're interested in joining this community, right, that we have here.
I think you're muted. You're muted.
Wow, so sorry. Okay, where did I get cut off?
No, it only just started.
Wow. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, hi everyone. My name is 𝗲𝗂𝗍. I work with the city of Lane. So basically here at Lane, what we do is to help Nigerians like get into top MBA programs. We are trying to get more Nigerians represented in like the top 10, top 20, top 50 business schools all around. Okay, sorry, Africans. But basically, yeah, we're here to help Africans get into top 20, top 50, the top 100 business schools anywhere in the world. So we're just here to help you along every step of the way, whatever help you might need. So that's basically what we do at Lane. For those who are not in Lane and you're interested in joining this community, we'll drop a link to the Lane community so that you can actually join in. Let's see. I don't know if the link is up yet. Okay, it's not up. Yeah, so we'll just drop the link for you so that you can join in. But okay, so for today, what we're basically going to be talking about is how you can attain your target scores in GRE or GMAT. So we have, sorry, okay. Yeah, the link is up, thank you. All right, so we have here with us two of our Lane members who got great scores in GRE and GMAT, I think. We have with us Oluwatobiloba Sonde, and we also have with us Hadizat Gbadamosi. Hadizat and Toby, okay, they're right here. So I would just like to give them the opportunity to like introduce themselves to us. So they'll tell us what they do, and maybe they can tell us their scores also. Yeah. Hi, Toby. Do you want to go first?
I eat the floor to Hadizat.
Okay, ladies first, I guess.
Okay, hi everyone. Good evening. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. My name is Hadizat. I work as a product manager in Softcom. I work as a fintech product manager, and I wrote my GMAT. I wrote my GMAT twice actually. So I wrote my most recent GMAT in January of this year, and I had 690 in my exam.
Oh, okay. Hi everyone. My name is 𝗲𝗂𝗍. I work at Deloitte, Nigeria, and I wrote my GMAT March 2021, and I had a 331.
Okay, so you had 331 in GRE, right?
Yeah, even the GRE.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said GMAT. Yeah, okay. So Oluwatobi had 331 and Hadizat had 690 in GMAT. Thank you very much for that. So I see both of you had like two different test experience. You did GRE, Hadizat did the GMAT. So what kind of informed your decision in actually writing those exams? What were you thinking about? What did you say, okay, this is why I'm taking the GRE, or this is why I'm taking the GMAT? Hadizat?
Okay, so for me, I started researching what exam to do, either GRE or GMAT. Then two things actually informed my decision. The first reason was just not so serious. So I read some articles online, and some people said they favored GMAT for scholarship, but I got to find out that that wasn't true eventually. But what really swayed me was the structure of the GRE exam. I knew that I had to learn a bunch of words, and I just did not like that aspect. Like, I could not see myself learning different words for an exam. So, and then I'd read that of GMAT, the maths, like that GMAT was more intensive for the quant section. So because I had an engineering background, I just felt like, okay, I'll be able to wing the maths. I mean, the journey was not easy at the end of the day, but the fact that I did not have to learn a lot of words for the verbal section of the GMAT exam, that was the main reason why I decided to do GMAT eventually.
Okay, what about you, Toby?
Okay, so for me, initially I wanted to go for PhD. So I had always known about the GRE. So the only time I came across GMAT during probably when I'm applying for scholarship or probably job test. So that was the only thing I knew about GMAT. So later that I got to know that, okay, then I switched. I mean, from PhD, I got more information about MBA, and then I switched my thought process from, okay, instead of doing the PhD, sorry, Nigeria happened. So, I kind of just focused on my GRE, and then, you know, since I was already preparing for GRE, and then I know about it, so I kind of just included you know, just moved on with the process to start preparing for the GRE. So I didn't even bother looking through the other side at GMAT. So basically, that was very informed my decision about GRE.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. Okay, I can imagine actually. Well, really, how did you manage to prepare like effectively for the GRE exam? And also in terms of preparation, how long was your preparation for? Did you do 3 months or like 2 months and you just went ahead to write the exam? How long did it take you? Toby, you could go ahead. Hi, Toby. I think you're on mute. Okay, I think it's probably having network issues. Maybe Hadizat, if you want to go ahead.
Okay, so preparation. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. So my timeline for the GRE is a little bit stretched. So I kind of, so give or take, let me just say I used 6 months to prepare, but it was scattered over the place. So the first test I wrote, I already had a group of friends that we, about 4 of us, we were preparing to write the exam during the lockdown. So during the whole period of lockdown, we were all preparing for the exams, and then after lockdown, I started work again. Then I kind of lost concentration preparing for the exam, and then did the test. And after that, then I did another 3 months intensive studying. So give or take, let me just say 6 months.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Hadizat, what about you?
Okay, so mine was, so I started preparing. I decided to write the exam in January 2021, and I wrote my exam January 2022. So I'd say it was a 1-year journey, but for like the first 6 or 7 months, it wasn't like I wasn't really studying, to be honest. I just had like, okay, one textbook here, like study. I wasn't consistent, right, for the first 6 or 7 months. So I would say, let's just say 6 months or 5 months in total. But like I said, I wasn't really studying when I first started. And I eventually wrote my first exam in November. Then my score wasn't great at all. So I now had to spend, I think, 6 weeks of intensive study to write my exam. So I'll say the entire thing, it took 1 year, the entire thing, but for actual studying, let's just say 5 or 6 months. Please, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you. Okay, since your video is kind of like stuck, but yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Okay, so basically, how was the whole experience? So I know you've talked about how long it took you. It took 6 months to actually prepare for the exam. But what materials did you use? Like, what actually helped you in preparing for the exam? And just take us through that experience of actually preparing for the exam.
So should I go first?
Yes, you can go first.
Okay. So when I decided to write GMAT, I know that I started out with a book, GMAT for Dummies, to understand the structure of the exam and to just know what to prepare for. So if you know the GMAT, like there are 4 sections actually, but the one that is actually graded, the one that counts for your final score is the quant and the verbal section. So I knew the sections that were there, and then I tried to understand the breakdown of the different sections. I also practiced tests. That was later in the year after, I said that the first part of my reading was just reading textbooks here and there, but wasn't really serious. So when I started preparing, I took a practice test, and I saw that I needed to work on my quant side, my quant section. Can you hear me, please?
Yes. Okay, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I decided that I saw that I needed to work on my quant section a lot. So majority of my study time was on quant actually. So that's the first time I wrote the exam. Let's just say, okay, so I started using Manhattan Prep. I read all the Manhattan Prep books for the GMAT, and then I solved some questions, but looking back now, I didn't solve enough questions. So for the Manhattan Prep, I read through everything. Then I solved the GMAT, the questions that were in the GMAT past question. So that was it for the quant. Okay, and I also used eGMAT. Sorry about that. I used eGMAT, but I discovered that the way they were solving their questions it was an Indian that did it. So it was quite complex for me. Honestly, I was just looking for how to solve how to get the answer in the fastest possible way. I was not really trying to start solving different equations here and there. So I stopped using that, and I just stuck with Manhattan Prep, and I solved a couple of questions. Then for the verbal section, so the verbal section is divided into 3. I didn't really use any textbook for verbal. So for the sentence correction, I watched YouTube videos for that. So there's this guy on YouTube, his name is GMAT Ninja. He has a different breakdown of videos for GMAT actually, but the sentence correction part was really helpful. So the different types of errors that you come across in sentence correction, he handled everything. So you'd read a sentence now and you would understand, you know what errors you're looking for, what things were missing. Then for the critical reasoning, I used eGMAT. It was super, super helpful. That's the verbal side. Then for reading comprehension, I didn't really use, I used eGMAT a bit, to be honest, but I didn't really study for that a lot. So it was just eGMAT and solving questions that were in the official guide. So those were the materials that I used to prep for my exam.
Okay. Before I go to you, Toby, Hadizat, you mentioned that you used 3 practice materials for the quant section. You said Manhattan Prep, I think eGMAT, and maybe online. Which one would you say helped you the most? Which of those practice materials?
So for me, it was different study materials for the different sections of the exam. So the Manhattan Prep has for quant and verbal, but I found that the quant was more helpful, helped me more than the verbal, because I read the ones for the verbal as well, but maybe I didn't spend enough time reading it, but it just didn't help me as much as the other materials. So for quant, it was Manhattan Prep. Then I watched some YouTube videos for some specific topics that I did not understand. Then for the verbal, that's why I broke it down. So for sentence correction, it was the YouTube videos that helped me the most. There were books on that I read, but I honestly would not say that they really helped as much as the videos. So GMAT Ninja was really helpful. Then I also saw some other videos on YouTube. Then for critical reasoning, eGMAT was very helpful. So eGMAT has has a course for the entire exam, but I know that the one for critical reasoning was, I really understood what critical reasoning was and then how to tackle the different types of critical reasoning questions just by watching the GMAT video. So that one was really helpful. Then for reading comprehension, I didn't really do much, but let's just say GMAT also helped me there. But I didn't really study that one intensely as I did for the others. So those were the different materials. I used different materials for different sections of the exam.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Hadizat. Okay, what about you, Toby? I know you took GRE, so you probably had like other materials you used.
Okay, so just like Hadizat mentioned, I also use different material for different sections. So if you're familiar with the GRE, you have the quant, you have the verbal, and then you have the analytical writing. So for quant, I basically use the Manhattan, so the 5LB Manhattan GRE textbook. So for English, I use the Magoosh. So for the English, I use Magoosh for both the comprehension and every other aspect. Then for the vocabularies, I have different apps. You have GRE vocabulary, GMAT vocabulary, English vocabulary. These apps are there. So these are basically what I use for the vocabulary part. And I also supplemented it with Greg Math on YouTube. So if you might be familiar with the guy on YouTube, so it kind of breaks things down like from complex to simpler terms. So those are the materials that I use for my preparation.
Okay, thank you, Toby. So for vocabulary, I know usually people say that, oh, the GRE vocabulary is like quite tougher, or I don't know, tougher than the GMAT vocabulary. So I know you mentioned like a lot of textbooks that you used, but which one would you say helped you the most for the vocabulary section now?
For the vocabulary section, basically I can't pinpoint the ones that I use, but basically what I do is I have about 5 apps. I think they are still on my phone. So I have vocabulary building or vocabulary builder. I have GRE vocabulary. I have GMAT prep. And I think there's one other one. I think Magoosh GMAT and Magoosh English. So it's more like a gaming app, but it's just something that you can just press. You just look at words, then they give you a series of options. You can look at the ones that is nearest in meaning or something. So it's more like when you're in transit, when you are bored, when you're trying, instead of, I don't know, if I'm not on probably social media or something, it's more like social media app. You can just open it and then you look at the words, it gives you a series of options, you look at the nearest, and as you progress, it becomes harder. So if you do simpler words today, probably by the time you finish that section, the next section you are going to is going to be more complex. So from there, and then from movies that I also see, because I see a lot of movies. So, sometimes you see movies and then you hear some words and they just be like, oh, I think I've had this word before. If I can't remember at that time, I go back, and I also maintain a journal where I also write the words that I know that is easy for me to forget. So, when I hear some words like that, and then it also becomes easier for you when you have cliques of friends that are doing the exam together, or study bodies. So, it becomes, Nigerians, let's be honest with ourselves, we don't really know much vocabulary, sorry to say, for people that know vocabulary, but we don't really know much. So, these study bodies, we just probably in a day or every 3 or 4 hours, just drop like 5 or 3 words on the WhatsApp group. And then everybody mentions, okay, I know this, I know that, I don't know this, what's the meaning? So the person that drops it, so it becomes easier for you that way. And sometimes when you wake up, the words that you learned the day before, so you kind of just, oh, what's this word? Complicated. Okay, I think I know complicated. What's this word? And really, after you are done with the exam, give or take a month, 2 months, I'm telling you, forget all of these words. Because if you don't use it day by day, day in, day out, it goes. So that's it for me. My confession.
Okay, thank you so much, Obi. I think that was very helpful. But okay, in terms of practicing, so how many mock tests did you take, or did you even take any at all? Okay, that's for you, Toby. And at what stage of like your exam were you taking those tests? Of your preparation, sorry.
So the test, excuse me. So luckily for me, I have some like different accounts. I mean email. So what I do is there are a lot of practice tests that I can use. There's GRE practice tests, there's GMAT, there's TCS itself. So I just register using all of these mails I have, so that it gives me more options, because I think for ECS they have just 2 practice tests. So if I use about 2 other mails that I have, so I have more options of six practice tests. And for other practice test centers, that you also channels that you can use, like GRE Prep, Manhattan, and the like. So by the time you register, so more give or take, I was taking the mock test about 2 weeks, but when it was closer, when I became my test, the date for my test was nearer, so I was taking the test like every week, so that I can use that to monitor my progress.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Hadizat? Do you have any other things to add in terms of GMAT?
So for the practice test, I used the official practice test, and I bought, so there's the free one. They have, like, if you sign up on the GMAT website, you get 2 free practice tests. So I did that. And then I also paid for 2 extra practice tests questions. So initially, first time I did my exam, I could only use the first 2 free ones. And I did the first one around the time I started reading for the exam. Then the second one, I did a few days to my actual exam, which, I mean, was not really helpful, because the point of practice test is for you to, put yourself in the exam condition, then track your progress and all. So doing it so close to the exam was really helpful for me at the first time. So the second time, when I redid my exam, I did all 4 practice tests again. So I wasn't doing, because I had a very short period now to redo my exam, so I wasn't even doing it every week. So when admitting progress, do the first one and then check out, like, see what I failed, check out what areas I was confused. I got confused. Then after a while again of making progress, do the other one, and then I now did the 2 new ones. So that I think I repeated the new ones I bought. I think. Okay, you can only repeat it. The paid one, you can only do it twice, so you can repeat the practice test questions. So I know that I repeated them the number of times I could. So that's it from me.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that was helpful. Okay, so I know both of you mentioned that you're currently working, so I can imagine having a full-time job, trying to practice for the GRE, trying to practice for the GMAT. What was your daily routine like? How often did you read? Like, maybe was it every day, maybe weekend? Just tell us about it. Hadizat.
Okay, so I was working remotely, so it was easier on me because I did not have to go through the stress of Lagos commute. But level of consistency of my reading, I don't know. There was a period when I started, anyways, I tried to do every day, but I know that I wasn't consistent. But 6 weeks when I redid my exam, I was around December, so I had more time. And then, like, December, now everybody is winding down, like there's less work for me rather. There was less work for me because it was around the end of the year. So I could spend hours and hours and hours reading. And it was like a crash. Let's just say I did a crash course, right, around that period, because I knew that I needed to improve my score. So I wouldn't say that I had like I was reading 2 hours consistently per day for the period. It wasn't like that. I tried doing that, but it was very disjointed. But I knew that the period where I had to redo my exams, I spent a lot of hours studying for it per day until the exam date.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Toby?
Okay, so for me, like I said earlier, I was a bit intentional about it because after my first test, and I know that I got good, that was the next 3 months. It was really intentional. So it became intensive. So it was 2 hours per day, and then as the spirit leads during the weekend. So the 𝗲𝗂𝗏 𝗦𝗽𝗂𝗧 is if they are not very close or family, then I start this, and Sundays too. So majorly it was more like 2 hours during the week, Monday to Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, minimum of 3 hours. And then another thing that really helped was since I was not driving, so I don't have a car. Not that I was not driving, I don't have a car. So anytime I'm in transit, anywhere I'm going, I just bring out my phone, open the apps, and then I begin to look at these words, and then you begin to shake your head with some music on, and then say, okay, I'm feeling these words, I like these words, and then that's how I do. That was basically my routine.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, so I know Toby, you mentioned, I think Toby and Hadizat, you get like similar experiences in terms of the fact that you took the exams twice. So what will you say you did differently the second time around that you did not do the first time? Or what advice will you give to someone that maybe has failed? Okay, I think there's like 2 questions, but that has failed the exam the first time and is looking to write it again the second time. What do you say the person should do differently? Hadizat.
Okay, so for the first part of the question, what did I do differently? So first, I would say that the first time I wrote the exam, I did not solve enough questions. I understand people read differently, so let's just say that not everybody has to solve so many questions, but apparently I needed to solve a lot of questions. But the first time I wrote the exam, I did not solve a lot of questions. So for instance, the practice questions in the GMAT textbook, I think I solved all of them, right? But I know that was it. Okay, no, I bought some other questions and I solved them, but I didn't solve enough questions, right? To the point where I would say that, oh, okay, I know that I've solved enough. I didn't solve enough questions. And let's just say that I was not being honest with myself. So I mean that for things that I did not know, or things that I did not know, basically, I'll say, oh, okay, maybe I know it and I just made a mistake here, that kind of thing. And so for the verbal, like I said earlier, I spent more time studying for quant. So for the verbal, I did not go in depth into studying. So after writing my exams the first time and I came face to face with reality, and I mean, it was really not nice. And I had a shorter time to prepare. I had basically around 5 or 6 weeks to prepare for my exam so that I would make the application deadline. At that point, I just knew that, I mean, there was no point lying to myself anymore because I had done it the first time and it didn't work out. So I bought more questions and I solved a lot of questions. And then I had this thing, when in doubt, please, if when in doubt, that means I don't know it. Like I'll go to the textbook again, like just read everything again. And then if after reading the textbook, I find out that, okay, this is still not clear, I went on YouTube and then I found videos that broke down the topics very well, explained everything very well. So it was just that I spent more time studying, I was more intentional, and anything that I did not know, I went online to get it. So that was where I even got things like GMAT Ninja for this part of the verbal, okay, this is when I would use. The first time I was writing the exams, I had not used those materials well enough. It was the second time when I actually went out to look for the materials that I saw them and I was able to use them. So for critical reasoning, I mean, the first time I was writing it, I was just winging it. I read a book on critical reasoning, but it didn't sink, right? I was just using, let's just say vibes, to be honest. But when I now studied GMAT properly, I understood the different types of critical reasoning questions. So I would say that I was more intentional the second time. I solved more questions, and I went out to look for things that I did not know, right? If I was confused anyway, I went on YouTube, and it's really helped a lot. So for the second part of your question, what would I advise what would I tell someone that wants to redo the exams? So two things, in addition with what I've said that helped me. I know there was one thing that my tutor told me when I didn't do well the first time and I had like a super short period to redo. I wanted to start reading again from the beginning, like, okay, let me just read this thing, let me assume that I don't know anything. But someone told me that like you already know what you know. So it's not, even if you didn't do well in the first exam, it's not like, okay, you do not know everything. Identify your areas of weakness and work on it very well. So for instance, now, if you have issues with, let's say, fractions, if you have issues with geometry, but you know probability very well, don't waste your time like reading probability from the scratch again. Focus on the areas where you have issues, like look out for materials, make sure you understand those parts, then like that's what's actually going to help you improve your score, other than concentrating on the parts you already know or trying to read everything, and at the end of the day you get overwhelmed with what you're doing. So I think that's my advice to people.
Okay, so to build on what Hadizat said, so for me, the first part, so I think what really affected me was I panicked, because like I mentioned earlier, about 4 of us in the group during the lockdown preparing for the test. And immediately after lockdown, I came back to Lagos, and I was struggling as at that time, the whole Lagos stress and everything. So when I moved to Lagos, I was barely new, trying to find my feet around. And about 2 of the guys that were preparing, they had already taken their test and they had nice scores. So I was more like, oh, I think I need to do this test this year. So by November, I think I wrote the test, and the score was not so great. And immediately I saw the test, I was just like, oh, I'm writing this. So November, December, immediately I resumed into the new year. So January, February, and March, it was really intensive practice. So I took the exam again in March, and then I saw the score that there was a difference in the score. So for what I would advise people to do who had done this, so I think it depends on what works for you. So I have some of my friends that didn't even use Manhattan or Magoosh at all for their preparation. So by the time you look at, just like the way you do a practice test for GMAT and GRE and know your best fit. So because I know where I'm a little bit, I know my math, my quant is great, but I know that my verbal is not so great. So, I already know my weakness. I've been able to pinpoint that. So I know that more work needs to be inputted in this, or more research has to go into this part. So basically that was what I did. So for anybody that has taken the test, it's just for a short while. By the time you get your desired score, then you let go of whatever you have, and then there's always time to enjoy after. But during that period, you just need to, pay the dues, make sacrifices, so that all of these things are going to be stories by the time you are making use of them. So basically, that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you, Toby. So please, if you have any questions for our panelists, you can drop them on the chat box. So if there's time, we'll just go through the questions. So Toby, you actually did not talk on what you did differently or what you think you did differently the second time around when you were writing the exam.
Okay, so the second time around, so like I mentioned earlier, that I was really intentional about it. So the first time I didn't have any reading pattern. So I'll just read as I want. Probably today I just like solving quant, then I do quant. But the second time around, it was more like, okay, Monday, Tuesday, the 2 hours is going to be just quant, and then Wednesday to Friday is going to be verbal, and then probably the whole of Saturday verbal again, and then Sunday I do maybe 2 hours of math, 3 hours of English. So I was consistent like that. So, but most of my time were allocated to verbal because I know that that is where the real work needs to be done. So that is what I would say that I did differently the second time.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. I think I have a final question. So in terms of like writing the exam, can you tell us about your experience, maybe getting to the exam? Did you take the exam at the center or maybe at home? Then what was the general experience on the day of the exam?
Okay, so I took the test at the centers because I don't trust the network. So I took the test at JKK Lagos. So the first time it was really funny because I think I had an interview that morning. I think that morning I had an interview for like 9 and then the test was 10. So I stayed very close to the center. So I had to just rush the interview. I can't remember. I can't remember if I took the interview or rescheduled. But I know I had one interview that morning. So in my mind, I was not settled. So when I got to the center, and then we were called in, and then the first that I was doing the test, I was feeling like, oh, I like this test. Like it was more like, oh, this thing is here, I'm very sure. I don't know that everything that I was speaking, they were just wonderful nonsense. I'm telling you. So as I was speaking here, I was in my mind, I was like, okay, so you are doing well, you are doing well. And by the time I submitted the test and I saw the score, I saw 294. So it was really somehow. So I was like, oh. So yeah, as you're feeling yourself inside, you know when you just finish an exam and then you know that you bought good, you just kind of, what I did immediately after the test, I just went to a restaurant, got myself a nice drink and then a nice dish, you know. So took care of myself. You people will not spoil my joy. So I just decided, okay, no, I'm going to take this test again. So, but this time, because I know that I'm smart, right? So this test is not going to be my downfall. So, you know, I just took my mind off of it, and then I think I scheduled the initial interview to the following day. So I did the interview, and then it was not there. So the second time, I was not feeling myself when I was writing the test. I was just like, okay, now anything can happen. Because the initial test I wrote, I was very confident. I was very, very confident. But my confidence didn't show in my results. So the second time I was like, okay, let's just be going with the site. So when I saw the result, I was like, okay, this is nice. This is nice. I've done well. So I also did the same thing. As I finished the exam, but this time around, I didn't eat in the restaurant. I took it home. You know, when you know that you finished your test and it was nice. So you know that kind of things that you eat when you're at home, off your clothes and everything. So it was really nice.
Thank you. Okay. Hadizat, did you do anything differently?
Okay, so I did the first one I wrote. I did it. So my experience in the center was really not nice. So I was delayed for hours. I had issues with the test center. So sometimes I tell myself that contributed to my low score. But anyways, the experience was not nice. So I wasn't feeling myself like Toby during my exam. I was very upset before I started writing the exam. So like everything just went wrong that day. And when I got my score, unlike Toby again, I had a good cry because I was supposed to apply in the third round and I wrote it towards the end of November. I had like 6 weeks to application. I didn't have a good score. I didn't have any essays down. So I was very, very, I was super sad at that point. But I picked up myself. So the second time I was going to write it, it was in January. I think I couldn't get a slot in December, and the application deadline was put in, I think either first or second week of January. So I also had issues, like I had issues with my GMAT. I had issues with my accounts. Like I registered with somebody that had a voucher. So apparently the test center people had a lot of issues with that. So I had issues with the official GMAT with my account. So I couldn't write a test in the center. So the second time, after trying to clear my account, placed a lot of calls, they still had not done that. So the only option I had left was to write at home, because my deadline was fast approaching. So I decided to go with that option because that was the only thing I had left. So I wrote the second one at home. The experience was better, to be honest. It was at home. I didn't write at home. I wrote in an office. It was just me, the person that was invigilating. Internet was stable, the light was stable, so it was good. But the only thing was that I think a day before I had to get the board that I was going to use to write the exam. But apart from that, the exam went on smoothly. And then when I saw my score, I was very relieved that I could finally, proceed with my application. So I had one test center experience and one experience writing it at home.
That's a very diverse experience. Thank you. Okay, I think we have some questions on the chat box for you. So, Toby, how did you improve your RC's performance in your second test? Is this reading comprehension? I'm not sure, but Toby.
Okay, yeah, that's reading comprehension. So, it's in two ways. So, because of the complexity of the RC section, sometimes you get to forget whatever you might have read. So what I do is there's this paper that you'll be given during the exam. So what I do is I summarize in my own way each paragraph. So if in a paragraph there are about 5 lines, so probably a story about Nigeria or something, in my own words, I just write it down probably in a sentence or in 2 sentences, just to paraphrase whatever I might have done. So I do that. So if there are 5 paragraphs in that text, in the RC portion, then I'm going to have about 5 or 6 summaries that I also have, so that by the time I get to the question part, and then instead of going back into the comprehension itself, I just look at my own summary, and then from there, just pick whatever answer you feel the examiners will like.
Okay, that sounds helpful. Yeah, then there's this other question. How did you practice for the AWA section?
Oh, so for the AWA, my score was the same over the 2 tests at 4.0. So for that really practice for that. For I think basically what I just did was, this fresh reading this thing, because it's essay now. So the only thing that I think I did was, I think I can't remember the 2 sections. I think there's one analytical writing and the other one, I can't remember the name of the other one. So there's this other one I can't remember. I think it's one that I want to mention. So where you have to argue whether you like this, you are siding what they are telling, like you have to take a side. So what you do is the first paragraph, you write about the positive side, and then the second paragraph you write about the first paragraph you write about supporting the information that you have in the I don't know how to put it now. So you write about supporting what you have in the analytical writing question, and then the second part you write against it. Then the third paragraph, then you give reasons why you are writing for or against, and then the fourth paragraph you write your conclusion. So my analytical writing, I didn't really put much work into that, but I think those are the things I did. And then the videos also help. So I can't really say much about, because I didn't really put too much of work into my analytical writing.
See. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so Hadizat, what do you say Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Yes, so I was saying, what are the mistakes would you say?
I said I wanted to add something to what Toby had said about the RC section.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes, please, you can go ahead.
Sorry, I think
it's mine.
Hi, can you hear me? I think my network is.
Yes, Hadizat, we can hear you, but your video is stuck, but we can hear you still.
Oh,
it's okay.
Okay. I didn't hear your question, so I thought I wanted to add something to what Toby had said.
Okay, you can go ahead.
The RC part.
Hadizat, can you hear us?
So there was a tip that I also saw while preparing for my whatever topic you're reading. So I know it's, and sometimes they're interesting. So what I found out that was a topic.
Okay, I think Hadizat has left. She was probably having network issues. I'm sure she'll join in. Okay, while we're waiting for Hadizat, Toby, so what will you say are the mistakes that we need to avoid while preparing for the exams, and like even on the exam day, what do you say are the major mistakes you think people should avoid?
So
sorry,
I think okay, yeah, I did. So the first mistake that I think people should avoid is self-doubt. So no matter the level of your preparation, just have this confidence that, okay, yeah, I've tried my best. So I need to just get this test off my list. So because, once our self-doubt creeps in, it becomes really hard for you to even concentrate in the exam. Because by the time you start the exam, you start looking at questions, time moving fast, and then you'll be like, because during that time you're in a zone that is different from the zone that everyone else is. So you know that it is as at that time, quote unquote, a do or die thing. But your confidence your confidence should always be top notch. Nothing must overcome that. So I think that is one for me. So the second thing that I would say people should avoid is crashing into the exam. So I think the day before exam, you should just take it off. So, see a movie, eat out with friends, or even if you just want to stay at home, just don't, like, just that day, the day before the exam, just leave it. Because it helps with concentration and mindset. Because by the time you start thinking too much about the test, it also affects you. And then take good care of yourself. Take good care of yourself. Have a nice time. It's not the end of the world if you fail. You're not the first person to fail. You'll not be the last person to fail. So, and every test, yeah, fine. You can always work on it. So I think I have someone that she applied to Harvard, and all everything, she got admitted eventually. All of her mind, she wanted like a score of 321 above or 324, and she did the test about 4 or 5 times. At the end of the day, she had 319, and she applied with 319, and she got in. So the test is just a small part of the application. So don't beat yourself too much about it. So that is what I would say.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Hadizat, welcome back. You were saying something before you got cut off.
Oh yes, my apologies. Sorry, my internet was bad.
Yeah.
I was saying that I want to add something to what Toby was saying about the RC, because there was a question that came in for RC. So I was saying that when I was preparing, one of the materials that I used for RC said, like, be interested in whatever topic you're reading, because sometimes topics are really boring. You're reading something about maybe space, you're reading another thing about archaeology, and you're like, what's my business? For the sake of the exam, it's your business. So like your mindset when you start reading a passage should be very positive, be interested. Like if you're reading something to learn about it, it's different from reading something just to, just let me read it and go. Because I noticed that the passages rather that I was interested in, I got higher scores. So from as soon as I saw that, my mindset changed. So if I see something about archaeology, like, okay, I'm going to learn something about one dinosaur that died maybe 3,000 years ago that really I don't care about, but let your mindset be positive. Like try to read it as if you want to learn something, and you find out that you retain information more. So when you're even summarizing, like Toby said, like you have things to summarize other than just reading it for the sake of, oh my God, what kind of religious passage is this again? The mindset is different and how you approach it is different, and your score would also reflect based on that. Please, did you hear what I said this time?
Yes. Yes. I got what you said.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Okay, thank you so much.
I think you're muted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I said I think we're running out of time actually, but maybe one last advice before we go. Hadizat, from you, what do you advise people preparing for the exam? Just one last tip.
Okay, so when you're preparing for the exam, I mean, Toby has given good advice already, but solve as many questions as you can solve. Solve until I get tired of solving the questions. Like when you start reading it, no, okay, so this is what they mean. This is how they want me to solve it. Solve to that till you get to that point, and then just try to be as calm as possible on the day of the exams, and pray to God also. But solve many questions, and please don't deceive yourself. If you don't know something, don't say you know it. Please go back, go and read it. It's like, don't wait till you get to the exams and then you don't have a good score before you're truthful to yourself, right? Don't deceive yourself. When in doubt, please just read everything again, solve as many questions as you can solve, and just pray to God. God will help you. And if you need a tutor, like if you know that you're reading on your own, and you're not getting what you need, you can try to get a tutor, right? I used a tutor at some point in my preparation journey. Some people can read by themselves. Some people need to get a tutor. There is no shame in it. The most important thing is for you to get a good score, right? So just do everything you can do to make sure that you get a good score.
Yeah. So just to write on what Hadizat said, I think this journey is not a journey that you can take on your own. Like you also need support. I don't know, probably your close friends or close family members, let them know that you are doing this, because all of these things you don't know. Yeah, especially even if you are living in Lagos, all the Lagos wala stress and everything, it gets to you and then you become frustrated. Everybody, as in Nigeria, everybody is frustrated. So now, by the time you are reading one RT package and then they are telling you about one thing, you become frustrated. And then, please, another thing, don't do this thing that you do in MCQ question, like is it probability or that you pick a question? It's not. I'm not sure. Well, I've not gotten the app for that way. So if I'm not sure about the question, I try to do elimination method. Okay, this is not it, this is it. So with that, reduce the probability of getting the answers right. But aside that, don't do, okay, let me just pick this, let me pick that. It's just MCQ now. So please, down. So another thing, let me just give a hack for those that are doing the GRE. So if you know you want to get, so for the GRE, you have 2 quant, you have 2 verbal, and then the last test, you have either quant or verbal. So the hack is, by the time you are filling in your details at the beginning of the test, if you know you want quant as the 5th question, you want quant as the last optional question, what you should pick is a course that is related to that is quantitative in nature. So you can pick something like business, economics, physics, mathematics. So that at the end of the question you get a quant question, a quant section. But if you know your Baba is your strength, then you can just pick something like math, English, law, and like, courses that are not that rich in quantitative. So that is one thing. And another thing, I think the test is just the test. It's not a do or die affair. Just do your best. But as much as you want to do your best and leave the rest, you should not waste your money too. So get value for your money. So once you've made payments or you commit yourself, ensure that you put in your best. So, and also pray to God that God help you and guide your way.
Thank you so much, Toby. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Hadizat, for joining in today's section. And I hope our audience have actually learned one or two things. So in case you have any other questions for Toby or Hadizat, I think you can reach them on LinkedIn. Yeah, they're also on the Lane community. So if you are not yet on the Lane community, I think we dropped the link for you to join. So if you're interested in joining the community of like-minded people, you're welcome to join in. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you, Doi.